I should have had a guest on had I known that you had been up since 3:30 in the morning. So
it's fine.
you could be a connective playmaker on this episode.
Yeah. Unlike Derek White, I play when my team needs me. I had a baby. Grow up.
Again?
People have babies. Yeah, come on. Like,
didn't he have a baby right when he got traded to the Celtics?
Yeah.
This guy.
Crazy stat. He's missed 3 games for the Celtics. They were all for fucking. They were all for having kids.
So he missed 2 games the first time, and this was the third game.
No, he missed 1 game last time. He's missed 2 so far for this child. So.
Unbelievable. Well, Derek. Yeah. I think the paternal leave is very important, and you should probably hold out on returning to the Celtics at least until Thursday. I would say you gotta give, you gotta have time with your family. Mm-hmm. You gotta kind of, the baby needs to get just as attached to the father as it does to the mother, I believe. So, Derek White, take it easy. Don't rush back. Take your time, bud.
I totally disagree. I think, this is not, what is a dad? A dad is nothing in the life of a child. They're they're orders of magnitude less important than a mother. And then, of course, the most important figure in a child's life, the uncle.
Of course.
So, they need to have uncle leave, but like dads, whatever, they can just get in there and get out.
All right. We got 36 people in here. If you are not watching live, you can watch every Ball live that we do at the beginning of the week on Playback TV /Ball. Sign up now because that's how we're getting paid through Playback this month. Is the more people that sign up, the more we get paid. The more people that watch hours on the Playback, the more we get paid. So if you have not already, join us for the live episodes on Playback. Join us for the live streams. Me and Sam will be streaming on Wednesday night for Sixers Celtics while Derek White is sitting out at home with his family. And in addition to that, also, if you have not already, sign up for the Ball Patreon. If you have not, it's only $5 a month and up to get access to bonus episodes every week. Later in this week, we'll be doing a bonus episode. Also, you will get access to the Ball Discord and a bunch of other cool stuff. So sign up if you have not already. And I see your comment, SH. Did I make my own list of the 25 best players under 25? The answer is no, I didn't have time today, but I'll do it for the Patreon episode. So if you want to hear my 25 under 25 after we discuss this later in the episode, sign up for the Ball Patreon and check that out later in the week. So Sam, what are you tapping into right now?
I'm doing the Doctor Strange stupid looking at all the paths for tomorrow's game. There are exactly 2 outcomes for tomorrow's game.
Okay.
A Celtics wire-to-wire blowout victory by 30, or a close game that the Philadelphia 76ers score the go-ahead bucket with 1.3 seconds remaining via Kelly Oubre. Those are the only 2 outcomes for tomorrow's game. So,
well, it would be very appropriate if Kelly Oubre was the one to score that final bucket for multiple reasons. If you know about Ball history, Will famously compared Kelly Oubre to Jaylen Brown a year ago and said he would rather have Kelly Oubre on the minimum than Jaylen Brown on a max.
Was he cooking?
Was he cooking? And also, I famously did not like the Kelly Oubre signing that happened live while we were recording. And so far, it's been fantastic. Nick Nurse has done miracles on me. He's done miracles on me. No child left behind, folks. He is changing my world so far. Now, keep in mind, the Sixers, they lose the first game of the season to the Bucks on an insane no call with Giannis obviously traveling late in the game that gives the Bucks the momentum. They lose that game, all things considered. They put up a good fight against the Bucks. Since then, they have won 5 in a row. Their schedule has been incredibly easy. So they've played the Portland Trail Blazers, the Toronto Raptors twice, the Washington Wizards. They've had a very, very easy schedule since then. Having said that, Nick Nurse's miracles are amazing so far to start the season. Harden's gone. The team has amazing vibes. And I fear that, Sam, you may have been cooking before the season. I believe you had the Sixers as the 3 seed. And I believe you also said that they could have potential to make the Eastern Conference Finals. everyone said you were just kissing ass so that Sixers fans would like you on the podcast. But so far, the results have been the number 1 offense in the NBA, the number 7 defense, and the second best net rating behind your Boston Celtics. So, second best team in the East?
It honestly looks like it. Milwaukee has not moved me yet. And I don't know. I just think, Nick Nurse, this is what Nick Nurse does, man. We should have seen this coming too, because what did Nick Nurse do? Nick Nurse do the only other time he was given a top 5 to 10 player in the NBA was win the NBA Finals.
Yeah,
so,
instantly.
So, I mean, what Archer Dad 420 say is true. I'm sure Nick Nurse's shtick will wear out eventually.
Sure.
The thing is, for the Philadelphia 76ers, that doesn't fucking matter. By the time his shtick wears out, either Embiid will have requested a trade or not. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. This is all found money for the Philadelphia 76ers, and they've got a upcoming offseason where they're going to really have a chance to reshape the roster. So it seemed like this offseason was going to be just a dreary death march with them holding on to James Harden, who was holding out all the way until the offseason, and just, kind of a replay of the Ben Simmons saga and everything. But, I think the two important things are Tyrese Maxey and, Nick Nurse. And I think, just in terms of differences. And I think that we're going to see, look, again, we've established the East is dog shit, Milwaukee's even worse than I thought they were going to be, and I was pretty skeptical that they would be an elite team. So, Milwaukee will probably be a better postseason team, and I think that the Sixers will still have some stuff they have to sort out in the postseason. But what do we always say? The postseason is all fucking matchups. The other thing is that as good as the Celtics are, as we saw last night, you pull one fucking Jenga block out of their 6-man starting lineup, it gets fucking shaky in a hurry. So God forbid 2 guys are out for the Celtics. Suddenly they're very vulnerable. So there's certainly no reason, I think the Sixers should keep, do what they got to do. I think they're in a great spot right now. Everything has found money. And I absolutely think Nick Nurse can get this team to a top 3 seed in the East by the end of the year and be in good position to capitalize if there's bad luck for other teams.
Yeah.
Conference finals. It would be very funny if they got conference finals game with this team.
It would be the funniest thing ever. And Daryl Morey, actually, and we're going to talk a little bit about Daryl Morey's appearance on Rights to Ricky Sanchez at some point, but he went on Rights to Ricky Sanchez. And one of the things that he always talks about with Mike Levin on there is, well, you guys always say you just got to make the conference finals. You just got to make the conference finals. But then the Phillies made the NLCS and they lost and everyone was mad. And Mike laid out this whole thing about expectations as a fan versus results as a fan. Yeah. And the reason why teams that kind of come out of nowhere and have spontaneous success are usually have lower expectations. And that's why a run can be fun. Like last year's Phillies run was really fun for the fans because it came out of nowhere. No one expected that team except for Chiodo to make the World Series and be, within a game or two of winning the World Series. The Sixers' expectations for this year were in the fucking toilet. And because they have started out with this hot start, you're maybe one call away from being 6-0 to start this season. Despite the fact that they've had an easy schedule, the Sixers have a history of kind of blowing those games against easy teams as it is, and they've taken care of business so far. And a few things just quickly that I wanted to talk about. Embiid, look, I don't think he has a shot at winning MVP, but statistically, he has now sat in 4 or 3 games. He has sat out the entire fourth quarter because the Sixers have been up by so much. And part of that might be because he doesn't want Nick Nurse to destroy his body. So he balls out for the first 3 quarters. The Sixers have the #1 net rating in the third quarter. It feels like as the game goes on, they get a little bit more chemistry. They gel, they make adjustments, and they're able to kind of figure it out. They're still figuring out their rotation as well. Furkan Korkmaz has been in the rotation. Robert Covington was in, but he was kind of out last night. Nick Batum was thrown in out of nowhere last night. And Joel, did you see how many points Joel scored in the third quarter last night?
I saw you when he finished with 40 something last night.
He finished with 48 points, but he scored 29 points in the third quarter.
Oh my God.
I mean, as you've seen, the Wizards defense is very easy to score against. You guys put up like 150 against them. He was perfect from the field and perfect from the line. He was 10 of 10 from the field and 9 of 9 from the line. He has been, and his defense and his passing, it's funny because the numbers for Maxey and Embiid look really good to start the year. But the thing that has been the most surprising with me is Nurse's way that he's gotten everyone to buy into the movement. He's gotten everyone to buy into ball movement, moving off the ball, cutting, kind of, the two-man game with Joel and Maxey has been working perfectly. Maxey looks like a fucking veteran point guard all of a sudden, hitting pocket passes, running the pick and roll perfectly. And it really has kind of changed everything for the Sixers. And mainly because I think that they've bought in on the defensive side. And then from there, the passing as a whole has been way better. Joel's averaging like 7 assists to start the year. He's only averaged 4 at the most in his career. Maxey is averaging 7 assists per game. His career high before this year was like 3. He obviously has a ton more on-ball opportunities. And it's been really insane to see how deep this team is. I think that they have about 12 NBA players on the roster. Yeah. The only players I would honestly say aren't NBA players are Mo Bamba, Wash Marcus Morris, and honestly, Jaden Springer. He has not looked like an NBA player. He's played minutes, but he hasn't really looked like one. Everyone else on the team would probably be in the majority of the rotations around the league, which is like a massive benefit. We're talking about like when you get to the playoffs, of course, those things matter less. But when you look around the league, we always talk about like what teams do best in the regular season. And if you run 12 deep in the regular season, you're going to win a lot of fucking games if you just have 12 rotation players.
Yeah, I mean that's been the Celtics' success. A lot of their good seasons have just been being like a strong, like deep team, and especially getting the buy-in. I also really like how Nurse has like, I'm seeing extend Tobias, hashtag extend Tobias.
Yeah.
So like, let's go.
Second straight year we've done this, by the way, and then at the end of the year, everyone's like, "Get rid of him."
But I think I've watched a few Sixers games like here and there, and not the whole games, just like bits and pieces. And one of the things that jumped out to me is how engaged fucking Tobias looks at doing like not very flashy stuff, and how well he's being used by Nurse. So I don't know. I think that again, I still think that the Sixers ultimately are still kind of, sewn to Embiid and what, can he personally get over that hump in the playoffs. But I the other thing about this is though, too, if Nick Nurse has Embiid playing hard the whole year, he might accidentally get him in shape. before the end of the year. Like if Joel Embiid can stay healthy enough but play hard enough to like hit the playoffs in shape, that could be a huge swing that we haven't seen before, because every time Embiid is like mailing it in the playoffs, he just looks exhausted to me. Like every time. And I'm sure there's definitely a mental aspect. I don't want to like gloss over that. But like, I don't know. I just think that the East, anything goes in the East. This is like where the West was the previous 3 years in the Mickey Mouse West, where the Lakers are making the Western Conference Finals out of nowhere, where there's
they were in the play-in, and then they make a few trades and they're in the Western Conference Finals.
And honestly, if the Celtics get hurt, it suddenly becomes extremely Mickey Mouse in the East, because like anyone can do anything. So I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I don't think the Sixers are going to come out of the East necessarily. I would not bet on it, but I'm just saying, like, keep an eye on some of these teams, like the Hawks, who have looked pretty good in like spurts here and there, and the Sixers, and some of these.
You just needed to get that in.
I did. Need
My Hawks look good.
The 3 seed was there. The Sixers are going to be the 3 seed because the Hawks are going to be the 2 seed, obviously.
Clearly, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think, hey, like the East, it's suddenly like very plausible. And I know, like, you got to pump the brakes. We're not even a tenth of the way through the season, but like a lot of shit can change. But I think
it's overreaction season. It's not even Thanksgiving. This is what we do, baby. We got the in-season tournament now.
Yeah.
We got a lot of things going on. Jonathan commented and said, if Nick Nurse keeps this up, then he'll have Trill backing the blue. Folks, the only blue we I was gonna say the only blue we back here is Blue Chew.
So by the way, Blue Chew, please contact Trill Brodude at trillbrodude.biz.
Thank you. Back the Blue Chew. That will be our saying.
The thin blue line, but my blue line. All right, well, this is not a Patreon.
Anywho, you know what's not tough?
Yeah,
you know what's not tough? So yeah, just a little housekeeping here. Maxey to start the year, 25 points, 7 assists, 4.5 rebounds, only 1.3 turnovers per game. He's fourth in the NBA among point guards in assist to turnover ratio. The only point guards that have been better than him to start the year are Mike Conley, Chris Paul, both historically good at taking care of the ball. And then the other two, he's tied with TJ McConnell, who's also been known for this as well. And then the other one is actually DeLon Wright, who is someone that has been coached by Nick Nurse in the past. He's someone that's been brought up as a Sixers trade target, and he's more of an off-ball guard anyway. Like, he does handle the ball occasionally, but he's not a super ball dominant guy. But good passer, good defender type. And I just want to talk a little bit about, because we're going to see the tests for the Sixers in the upcoming game. You have the Celtics, obviously, is the big test on Wednesday. And then the in-season tournament game against the weirdly scrappy Detroit Pistons. Like, the Pistons are good, but they hang in every single game, and they definitely have some pride and some young talent that we discussed on the last episode.
The Pistons, who should be better than they are, but they insist on playing with the handicap that is starting Killian Hayes.
It's
for
amazing.
Whatever reason. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah,
like,
they're telling their landlord to raise the rent so they can grind harder.
Yeah. I just want to take a quick victory lap on Marcus Sasser. Luckily, we've got the Celtics have no need of. Well, it's not like the Celtics had a chance to draft Marcus Sasser, and they desperately need a guard play in their rotation. It's fine. It's fine.
Which is so funny, because we were talking about, at one point, someone compared Sasser to Peyton Pritchard in our group chat, and I was like, I think Sasser might be better than Peyton Pritchard. And now Peyton Pritchard has completely regressed after the preseason. And we'll get to the Celtics in a second. I just want to talk a little bit about Daryl Morey's appearance on the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. If you didn't check that out already, go check it out. It is a really great episode where Mike Levin destroys Daryl Morey with facts and logic.
Let's go.
About being a fan. I enjoyed it. But so the trade targets that Morey generally discussed on here were interesting to me, because obviously he can't name players on other teams.
I was just going to say, wait, did he name players?
Yeah, he came out and was like, I want Zach LaVine and OG Anunoby. And that would be really funny if he was just like, fuck it, find me. What are you going to do? Huh, pussy?
I'll run you your money. Let's go. I'm naming names.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I want to trade for James Harden.
Yeah. Hey, look, he stood up for free speech before.
Yeah.
Got fined for the league. Come on.
He wants Kyle Anderson just to take you away.
Oh, I didn't consider that. Kyle Anderson might refuse to play for Daryl Morey.
Yeah, no, he's not gonna. Daryl Morey will show him the Bored Ape Yacht Club hang and say, "Don't you want to do this and have your eyes fall out of your head?"
Doesn't this seem epic?
Isn't this cool? Yeah, there's no women there, but don't all great parties just have men and lighting that will actively destroy the green light cones in your eyes? No, okay, fine.
Yeah, Kyle's gonna be so on board with that. So what he talked about was basically, he's talked about how Nick Nurse, because it's funny you brought up Nick Nurse. So what did he do when he got a top 5 player? He just happened to win the NBA Finals with the Raptors. Kind of an interesting parallel there. But one of the things that he talked about on this episode was the fact that Nurse has been able to make up for a lack of playmaking on some teams that he's had by kind of instituting more ball movement, more movement off the ball, having connective passers, turning guys into more connective passers like Pascal Siakam, having Marc Gasol was someone who was famously, they acquired at the deadline a few years ago to be a connective passer. Lowry's obviously a good playmaker, but Kawhi, of the guys who have won the finals as the best player, Kawhi and that Toronto Raptors team, he's one of the worst playmakers. He's not in the LeBron, Jokic tier of playmaker. He's quite a few tiers lower than that. So Nurse has done this before where he's leaned in with defense, he's leaned in with scoring, and he's leaned in with connective playmaking and ball movement. So having said that, what he was describing on the podcast, I know that Morey was definitely completely pandering, maybe specifically to me, but just Sixers fans in general, because he said, I think that Tyrese has a shot to be the second best player on a title team. I don't want to rule out him being the best player on a title team. And I was like, that's an amazing pander directly to me, and I appreciate that, Daryl. But he talked about, Joel being the best guy, Maxey potentially being the second best guy, and then them looking for a third guy who they view more as a connective piece who can work off the ball. I would imagine that just based on his general description of what they'll be looking for, I don't think guys that we thought before that they could go after, like Zach LaVine and maybe even like a Brandon Ingram, would be in that ballpark, because those guys are great, scorers, bucket getters, and guys who can score in isolation, who can generally shoot off the catch, although Ingram's been shooting like shit to start the year. But in terms of playmaking, they're guys that are going to take up a lot of on-ball possessions. They're more ball stoppers and play finishers than ball movers. So I would almost say, based on his description, which, keep in mind, as we know, Daryl Morey lies all the time. It might just be fucking bullshit. But I would say, based on his description, the few guys that I pulled that I thought fit this description more, just based on what we've heard in general, are the obvious ones: OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, who we don't think the Toronto Raptors will be trading. And then the other guys were Gordon Hayward, Kyle Anderson, even though he's more of a role player, Marcus Smart, who potentially could maybe be available at the deadline, but I think that the Grizzlies might end up hanging on to him. And then some other guys that people have discussed just pretty much purely as defensive guys who could be play finisher types, ball mover types on offense, were Alex Caruso, Dorian Finney-Smith, and I think I already said Gordon Hayward. And then there's one more, which was Spencer Dinwiddie, but that would be more like we just need another ball handler kind of guy. But Morey seemed to not be that interested in getting another ball handler on this team.
Well, I was going to say, let's just say Spencer Dinwiddie and Daryl have a lot in common.
Yeah, he's already got that connection there.
Yeah.
Tobias, too.
Yeah. So
well, Gordon Hayward and Morey might also have a lot in common, too. We just don't know about it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, because let's also remember what one of Daryl Morey's greatest skills as a GM is. He has exactly one interpersonal skill, because all his other interpersonal skills are off-putting and alarming. It is tampering. So what Daryl Morey's plan is probably actually going to be, I think, would be to get some of these guys with cap space. And I'm guessing he's working on it literally right now.
Sure.
He is using Mark Cuban's Dust app, which may have been sunset by now. I'm not sure. But he's using the Dust app to send texts. He's found out through the last investigation that, you can save Snapchats. He found that out like Chris D'Elia. You can get in trouble for that. So he's good. He's finding more clandestine ways to make contact. And I would bet, I still think Daryl Morey is probably not going to spend. I foresee a trade deadline much more similar to last year's than the year before.
Maybe the George Hill acquisition. versus the Kyle Lowry one, which look, Raptors fans got mad at me when I tweeted that Dorian Finney-Smith could do 80% of what OG Anunoby does, but actually be acquirable. And then they were like, he doesn't do 80% of what OG Anunoby does. And I'm like, okay, so your GM isn't going to trade him anyway. So why? I'm not even going to discuss OG Anunoby. And someone compared it to George Hill can do 70% of what Kyle Lowry could do for a third the price or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, if the Sixers made the Kyle Lowry trade, it would have been a disaster for them.
Yes.
They probably would have had to give up Maxey, and Embiid would be on the New Orleans Pelicans right now. So why are we even talking about that as if it weren't a good fucking trade? But
we've always got to remember that the number one Raptors fan skill is being completely rational about their team.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. No bias, completely objective.
Yeah, they're really good.
They're straight shooters. But yeah, just real quick, if you are an NBA player and you want to play for the Philadelphia 76ers, message me on the Signal app. My ad is Trill, bro, dude.
I have a guy.
Don't use that app for anything else.
I have a guy who I'm in contact with. He is the DM of our Dungeons and Dragons group. Again, his initials DM. If you would like to get in touch with DM, please reach out to Trill, bro, dude.
That's right.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do generally think that if he is making a big move. Having said that, Windhorse was like he might have his eyes on some bigger prizes. There was a leak that Donovan Mitchell could be someone that he would go after, although I don't really see Donovan Mitchell wanting to play anywhere but New York, unless you could talk him into the, hey, JJ Redick commuted from Brooklyn. We'll get you an Uber sponsorship.
Yeah. Dude, JJ Redick really did that when he played for the Sixers.
Yeah, he used to commute from. So he had a place here, I think, but he would commute for like when they were off or they didn't play a lot, and his family lived in Brooklyn. Yeah, so
I knew his family lived in Brooklyn because of that insane story about the Brooklyn the Brooklyn school. But like, I didn't realize that was while he was on the Sixers. That's so funny to live in fucking Prospect Heights or wherever he was in downtown Brooklyn, and then just fucking. That's such a having made that drive recently. Last time I saw you, that is a dog shit drive.
I was going to say, I know people that live in Manhattan or vice versa have lived in Philadelphia and worked in Manhattan.
Yeah,
because they just live near the train stations and it's not that bad of a commute. But Brooklyn is another level. Like I mean, that's 2 hours. Like you could easily do, if you take the Amtrak, you can do that in like 70, 80 minutes, probably 90 minutes altogether. And I still think that commute is insane, but I mean, I guess when you have money, it's just a different world. Like you're probably not driving yourself a lot. Like JJ Redick was making $20 million a year when he played for the Sixers.
No, he had a shuttle and he would just deploy the cow catcher and like zoom through the Staten Island footpaths, knocking people off.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete Davidson was getting walking with I don't know, whatever starlet he was dating, but getting destroyed by JJ Redick's cow catcher bullet train that he had.
And by the way, Sam is not jealous of Pete Davidson at all.
No, I could do that. I could do that.
If only you weren't 4'11".
Yeah, that's the only thing holding me back, really.
Cool. He's 6'4".
Yeah, he's got energy. His dad's dead. My mom's dead. There's a lot of levels here. You know, there's a lot of. For those of you listening on audio, that got Trill. That got Trill. He knocked out a frame for a second.
I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, I'd like to paint a picture for everyone. Yeah. Anyway, Ice Spice, what's up? Just
Yeah, how you doing?
How you doing?
Yeah. We both definitely have profited off 9/11 a lot, and we use it.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's another connection. Yeah. I would never make a shitty Netflix movie about it, though. I'm just saying. Only podcasts, the ethical media, the
most ethical medium in our society. But yeah, if anyway, back to our NBA podcast.
Okay.
But the thing, I agree. I think that Morey only makes a splash move if there's someone that's a perfect fit that becomes available and the price is right. I don't think he's going to overpay. I think he'll do probably more of a half measure move. And he talked about it on this podcast that if he is trading for someone that is a free agent next summer, it's mostly just because of this new CBA and the fact that you can negotiate with those players early. Because you have, remember that the new CBA rule, like you have a week on everyone else. So you can start instantly when free agency starts, and you can actually negotiate a contract before any other team negotiates with them. So there's at least that advantage if you do trade for a guy. So
I forgot that was a rule, and we're gonna end up with some situations where it's like when you know someone's gonna dump you, but you're still together, and they're just like talking to you, like just you take them out to dinner to talk about the contract extension, and it's just fucking silverware clattering on the plate.
Yeah,
where silence.
I was gonna say wherever Kyrie is, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Actually, it's gonna be James Harden next summer. Let's be honest.
Yes.
What a great transition that was.
Yeah, as I say, Raphael Stone fires Ime Udoka and brings him back this offseason.
No, the Rockets are back, baby. They're 500.
That's right. They are.
3-3. Yeah.
Dylan Brooks is the greatest. It is very funny that Dylan Brooks is playing well.
I know. It's amazing that he's like going to be in the most improved conversation at like 28 years old. But the one of my favorite accounts on Rockets Twitter, if you don't follow, very funny account, but at Biased Houston tweeted, he tweeted after 6 games and said, "There's no way the Rockets will be in the play-in," with a bunch of crying face emojis, and showed them in the 8th seed.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go, dude. 6 games into the season. We love to see it.
Let's go.
But yeah, so that's what's going on in the Sixers front. We'll see. We'll learn more about this team over the next few days, but I do want to talk a little bit about the debut of James Harden at Madison Square Garden. Harden in the Garden. First game with the Clippers. I streamed it last night. If you didn't catch it on playback, you can watch games with me on there throughout the NBA season. And they lost his first game playing PJ Tucker's second game. I don't know if you saw this, just before we get into the hard stuff. I don't know if you saw this, but Clippers fans are already like, get PJ Tucker the fuck out of the rotation. He blew a wide open layup in transition last night. He missed multiple quarter threes. He was terrible in the first game. I think he only played like 15 minutes and had like 4 fouls in the first game he played for them. He really struggled in the last game for the Clippers as well. So it's been a really rough start, and I'm just so happy that part of that trade was getting off the PJ Tucker contract for the Sixers, because man, he's got another year at like $12 million next year. They're kind of stuck with that because they don't have picks, or I guess you could attach a young player to get off the contract, but what's really the point?
And the thing is, like, $12 million is like the perfectly like shitty amount of money to make, because it's like not big enough to like actually give up an asset, like in terms of percentage of the cap, but it's also big enough that it like fucks up your plans and stuff. Like, it's like, fuck. I call that the Peyton Pritchard. That's contract.
I was gonna say, if he actually was somewhat playable, or they had draft capital, it could actually be valuable. Like, you could be like, hey, we have some matching salary. Like, your Celtics right now do not have any matching salary. The Sixers are in the complete opposite side of the spectrum now, where they have a ton of matching salaries. They've basically become the new Clippers and Grizzlies, where they have a ton of salaries that they can move to make these trades. And one of the things that I feel like coming out of the first Harden game is that, one, this team really needs Terrence Mann, who is going to return from injury sometime soon, I would imagine. But the other thing that, like, I'm not going to overreact to one game, because they have so much talent and it's going to take some time to figure things out. And Harden, honestly, on offense, and even had some nice defensive moments, looked pretty good altogether. Like, I mean, he had some nice mid-range shots. He had his classic step back 3 moment. He was playmaking like he usually does. And he even had some nice defensive sequences. But the one thing that I am concerned about, this is just a little bit of a microcosm of why I don't love the Harden fit in general on this Clippers team, is that well, first off, Kawhi after the game was like, I'm just trying to figure out like what my role is going to be with this team. And it's like, you're Kawhi Leonard. Like, you should have a pretty defined role from the jump. And then the second thing for me was the fact that on the biggest play of the game, when the Clippers were trying to come back, the Knicks missed the shot, and Dante DiVincenzo ran in from the 3-point line, grabbed an offensive rebound, which led to a 3 by him that just completely made it out of reach for the Clippers. And when you watch the replay, Harden wasn't boxing out. And these are things that teams that have a lot of stars on them, now they have 4 guys who think they're stars. Russ has bought a little bit into the role player stuff, playing more point of attack defense, boxing out on rebounds, all that shit. But I do think that when you get these guys that have been the on-ball creator their whole career, the star player their whole career, that it is hard to get them to buy into roles to be like, hey, yeah, I'll box out, I'll set screens, I'll do all this. And I think that almost always goes to the team not being quite as good as their talent collectively.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to win a lot of games just because they have a ton of talent, because that's what happens. If you have more talent in the NBA, you're going to win on any given night. But there are going to be issues that this team runs into over the course of a season because they're not quite as good as a collective as they are individually. And it's especially the case when you get these guys who are a little bit later into their 30s. They're not in the prime of their career. We've talked about, like, when do these super teams ever work? It's literally like the LeBron Heat when those guys were at their peak, and then the KD Steph Warriors, who were just unstoppable. But otherwise, you run into this problem a lot where guys don't want to do the dirty work. Guys don't want to do the things that, teams normally have a few guys that can do this and aren't complete zeros in the rest of the game like, PJ Tucker can be. So I'm definitely not concerned after one game, but I think that it's going to take a little bit of time to get this chemistry down for the Clippers for sure.
Yeah, I just think I was actually listening. Did you listen to Low Post where he was talking to Ohm and?
Oh no, I haven't heard it yet. I didn't know that he released one because I listened to his Wemby one, which they were spitting on that episode about Wemby. He was incredible last week, but yeah, I didn't get a chance to check out the latest Low Post.
So it's kind of interesting because Young Mahaisuk, he's like he's the ESPN Clippers guy, and you can tell, he's got a little Ramona Shelburne. He's got some Momo.
He's an access guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a little bit of an access guy. So I was kind of trying to read the tea leaves on what he thought because he was pushing. His take was he was pushing big that like there's a huge win for the Clippers because they get their guy in early. Only 5 games, they get a chance to incorporate him. The other thing they were saying was actually it's good how public this trade was because the coaching staff was able to go to everyone and be like, hey, whenever this guy gets here, this is how it's going to work. And like the organization had like a lot of time to like process. Like he had a really interesting soundbite about like how Ty Lue was just thinking about how the rotations were going to be like all off season once they got Harden.
Sure.
So like they were able to just come in and hit the ground running with that. So that's probably some pretty heavy like Clippers spin. I don't think they're always going to look as bad as they are. I think the canary in the coal mine for this whole Clippers thing is going to be how engaged is Russell Westbrook, and does this like check Russell Westbrook out? Because I think one of the real strengths of the Clippers as they're currently constructed is that Russell Westbrook has turned back into a winning basketball player for them. Like how winning, Will is going to DM me tomorrow and be like, Russell Westbrook is not a winning NBA player.
I mean, in his role before they got Harden, I think he was. Yes. I mean, look, he's still going to have his Russ games, but it was the most role adjustment we've ever seen from Russ throughout the course of his career at a minimum. Yeah. So I know he finally did the KOC thing, setting ball screens, but more it was like just the fact that he changed their identity in terms of like getting them out running more.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's a great point by Nate in the back. Like he pushed the pace. He made them like faster. Yes. As Will says, Westbrook just needs to channel his inner Davion Mitchell to really run up.
I mean, look, Russell Westbrook might be a star hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, he might be. He could be an MVP someday. He'd probably have to average a triple-double or something like that. But yeah. But I think that's going to be what is it? Because I think if they can keep a relatively positive Russ, because I think he's going to the bench eventually. You know what I'm saying?
He has to.
He just can't. They're Terrence Mann is going to have to start when he comes back. And if Russ can keep that same, if they can avoid Lakers Russ once Russ gets moved to the bench, and I think that's going to happen for them to become a winning team. I think they can really do okay here. And I think, but there's other things though that compound that. What does that do to Bones Highland's minutes? And what does that, do with some of these other guys who have, really been playing pretty well. So I'm really interested to see. The other thing that they nailed was that they pointed out that the Jokic buzzsaw. It is really funny that early on in the season, maybe the Celtics less so because they're more injury. The Celtics are less proven and have less injuries on the east side, but on the west sides, everyone's equally scared of the Nuggets because they're defending champs and they have Jokic, and it's that was the point they were making is I measure everyone by the Nuggets. They're saying the Clippers aren't a good matchup for them, but it's but they're not a good matchup for anyone in the West. However, I would point out there's one team in the West that actually is a good matchup against Denver. And so there's a chance the Wolves could beat the Denver in round 2 or something like that.
It's possible. I mean, look, Jamal Murray's already hurt. And he has the hamstring. Those things can linger. You never know. But that if any team has a chance, they match up the best with them for sure.
But that's what I'm saying. It's it's not very likely. But what I'm saying is there's a chance, I think the Clippers are on the same tier with every other team in the West. Maybe not. I'd like to see more of the Warriors. I think the Warriors have the best shot of moving into the Denver tier, but they're close enough with these other teams that it's not outrageous for them to beat them in a series. But then if and I just think it's possible that the Nuggets lose before the Western Conference Finals. So you could get a shitty matchup there. So
well, it's funny that I watched the Timberwolves once again playing the Celtics last night. They obviously beat them. We'll talk about that, but it's funny. I watched them and in my brain, I go, oh God, they should just trade Karl-Anthony Towns for whatever they can get.
Yes.
Because he is a disaster on some nights and he lets I've never seen a player quite like him where the emotions just dictate how he plays. And he was complaining the entire game last night and he was completely out of it. He was terrible. But the fact that is one of the reasons why they match up well with Denver is why you can't just trade him. Because if you need to win the West, you need to beat Denver. And maybe they don't get that shot. Maybe they don't beat them in a series, but they certainly match up better with anyone else. And I am a little concerned that Jamal Murray's hurt this early in the season. I mean, look, Michael Porter Jr. looks way better than he ever has before. And he had a crazy dunk last night, but there are some health question marks for a team that's also very thin. I don't think it's just completely bulletproof that they stay healthy and they're right all throughout the playoffs as well. I think that the West, because of the competitiveness from top to bottom, has a lot more question marks. And I like the Clippers' chances about as much as I kind of like their chances against everyone except for Denver and maybe Golden State. I feel like Golden State would beat them in a series as well. But I would certainly say that the Clippers have the talent. One of the things that they talked about when the Harden trade went down, he had Steve Jones on that episode to talk about some of the schematic stuff with the Harden thing. And these teams that are building their teams with 3 stars, perimeter stars, the Suns, the Clippers, to kind of attack team's weakest perimeter defenders, right? So okay, now the third best perimeter defender is going to be on Bradley Beal. Now the third best perimeter defender is going to be on James Harden or Paul George or whoever. And I think there's some legitimacy to that, especially when you're facing a team like Denver that look, Jamal Murray's been much improved on defense, but he's not a perfect defender by any means. Michael Porter Jr.'s had his issues in the past, but I still feel like in order to match Denver's offense and Golden State's offense when it's really rolling, you need to have more than just guys who can cook in isolation. And that is what I fear that the Clippers fans were already sick of the lack of ball movement, sick of lack of movement in their offense in general. They thought it was too ISO heavy. It's not going to get any better with James Harden. Now, you'll have better passing for sure. And if he buys into a connective passing role, you're going to have, and like he had some moments last night where they set him up, they put him at the elbow and he made the right read. Like he's a genius basketball player, but it feels like when you get into the playoffs, I think that you need to always have counters, and I struggle to see ISO ball being the counter that can trump a Jokic-led offense in the playoffs, a Steph, if everything stays right-led offense in the playoffs. You might get enough points, but I don't think you're going to have enough points to match the other side if they're all healthy and all clicking on all cylinders in a read and react system.
I think the death knell for the Clippers, because I made the contrarian take about why this could work. I think the other side of the equation is they can beat any of these West teams, but can they beat anyone 4 times in a row? And I just don't think so. I think they could win a first-round series, and if they get really lucky with matchups, maybe even a second-round series. But I just think eventually it's too much of a coin flip for them. It's going to be too much of a coin flip from them series to series. And by the way, if anyone gets hurt, they might not even make the playoffs. Like that's still on the table.
They're going to be close. No,
if Kawhi goes down, like
I think they will. They have enough. That's part of the reason why they traded for Harden. Is like, say what you will about Harden, but he's going to give you, when he's on the court, you'll have a top 10 offense. And if you can figure out the pieces around that, them losing Plumlee is low key not good for them because PJ Tucker. No, it's not good because PJ is not good enough to play the 5 anymore. And look, maybe in some lineups, I talked about this on Rob Flom's podcast, maybe in some lineups you could play Kawhi at the 4 and get away with it because he has that rim protection ability, the help defense ability that the Sixers just never had when they ran these smaller lineups with PJ at the 5. But PJ provides no rim protection. You're going to have to switch a ton. And the offense is just going to take a hit whenever PJ's out there, unless you staple all of his minutes to Harden, which is what I would imagine that they will do moving forward, is you're playing with Harden or you're not playing at all. And maybe that's a situation where you can survive. I saw Ethan in the comments, who's a Clippers fan, say earlier, where they're talking about Terrence Mann at the 5. I'm like, that is not something that is going to work. Terrence Mann is like 6'5". No, I could see Terrence Mann in like a Bruce Brown Nets style role where you play him as a big on offense, setting screens, playmaking, raking the right reads, whatever. But I don't really see him as, playing defensively that small ball 5 role. That's got to be Kawhi. That's got to be someone that can provide more rim protection and paint protection in general. So I think that the Clippers, it's going to be interesting to see what happens without Plumlee. And now Zubac is not a role threat. And Embiid wasn't the ideal. If you're thinking about creating like in a lab what a Harden big would look like, it would probably look a little bit more like someone that had a little bit more vertical explosion. But that 2-man game was so deadly because Embiid, you get him into the mid-range, he's either drawing a foul or he's taking it and making it at 50%. So that is something that I want to see how that chemistry builds with Harden and the bigs there, especially when Plumlee gets healthy. Hopefully he's not out too long. I saw he had a sprained MCL. I don't really know how long he's going to be out for that, but I would imagine it's a significant period of time. So just some thoughts on the Clippers. Not really too concerned about them. I think they'll win on their talent. And I agree with you. I think their ceiling is conference finals appearance. And look, it's not what you want when you consider everything that you gave up to build this team. But this is a team that before they got Paul George had 0 conference finals appearances. And if you get 2 in a few years, I think you can live with that. I think that ultimately winning a finals is really hard. And I don't think Harden's going to be that final piece, but he could definitely help them, at least in terms of raising the floor.
I still think, I know Harden's like an all-time floor raiser, but I think that the floor is lower than it might otherwise appear, especially if it's, Kawhi or Paul George getting hurt, just because I think the Clippers have always been a super, super, super deep team. They're still okay, but they are not as deep as they once were. And if 1 or 2 of those guys go out, you suddenly got, you're going to have James Harden running things, but I don't know if James Harden can carry a team that way anymore. Like I guess he kind of did it against the Celtics a little bit, but that's
you're gonna have load managing Kawhi in game, basically. Like Kawhi taking less shots, Kawhi putting less stress on his body, and hoping that could get you to the finish line. Because when it all comes down to it, he's still the best player on that team, and he's still the number one, the alpha, if you will, when it comes to playoff time. So moving on to your Celtics. They finally lost a game to the Wolves after destroying the Wizards and the Pacers without Halliburton, and had some competitive wins at the beginning of the season against the Heat and the Knicks. So they go to Minnesota last night. The game actually goes to overtime. The Wolves kind of shit on themselves down the stretch, thanks to Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards not hitting some shots. But Ant was incredible in that game, honestly, on both ends. I would say he was probably the best player on the court last night. And he's definitely a surefire superstar.
That's really weird that top 5 NBA player Jason Tatum, when it came down to it, wasn't able to be the best player on the court. That's pretty interesting. I'm sure it was Marcus Smart's fault that they weren't able to execute there. And,
I mean, Tatum did have a good game. He just shot.
He did.
Yeah. I was like, I'm looking at Tatum's stats now in 32, 5, 2, and 5.
Well, okay.
The passing and the 3-point shooting is what has been a concern for him to start the year.
I've tweeted this before. Jason Tatum is the king of the, oh my God, is he okay?
5 steals, though.
Yeah, and then you look at it, you look at his stats at the end of the game, and it's like 30 fucking points every goddamn time, which is like, it's good and bad. It's good and bad. There's things. And honestly, Tatum's been really good in all the other games. But again, this is my issue with Tatum, is when it's a close game where you need your star player to put their dick on the table and say that I'm going to take over this game and I'm going to win it for you right now. I just, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, look, I don't think I'm just getting some takes
in your feelings.
Yeah, I'm getting my feelings. I'm going to be honest, because the other thing is I went to bed. I woke up at 3:30 this morning, so I actually didn't watch the second half of that game. So I only watched the first half. I can tell you what I saw in the first half. One, the Wolves need to trade Karl-Anthony Towns like tomorrow. Like Naz Reid came in, like the Celtics were annihilating them with Cat on the court, and then Cat got in foul trouble. Naz Reid came in and they immediately stabilized. So that's one. Jordan McLaughlin, right MCL sprain.
Wow, it's over for the Timberwolves.
It's over. Never mind. I was about to say it. Something.
My Wolves, by the way, my Wolves.
Yeah,
defeating the evil empire.
Yeah, I don't know. So I think what that exposed is that the Celtics really do something. What we've seen is the Celtics bench is extremely vulnerable. They're not very good. Actually, Peyton Pritchard, even though Peyton Pritchard had 0 points last night, he actually wasn't as bad as he has been in some other games. Like he was doing some stuff. He got 5 rebounds or something like that, and he was rebounding the ball pretty well for his size with some of this stuff. But it's the lack of talent, that you have there, and just having a hard time with the front court depth. I think it really kills them when they have to start the double bigs with Derek out. The bigs, they need Al in that bench lineup, and Al kind of looks old when he has to play full starters minutes. He runs out of gas.
He had a rare turnover at the end of the game last night that sent it to overtime.
And there's issues. You saw close game over leverage. Drew Holiday came back, which that's the Nihilus Bucks was victory lapping about that.
Sure. He was at the game. He said he had PTSD because he was at the Celtics Timberwolves game when Drew went doo-doo mode down the stretch.
Yes. So, and I think that Porzingis, for as much as he looks like a cheat code for the Celtics offense and kind of gives them free spacing, he can get himself in foul trouble. Even when he's healthy, he can get himself in foul trouble. And that's kind of what happened last night. And when Porzingis, just something I've noticed in the first few, in the short time he's been on my team, it's a completely different ball game how Porzingis changes when he's in foul trouble versus when he's in there. So I felt really good about the Celtics the first 4 games of the season. I still feel really good about the Celtics. I still think they will ultimately be the 1 seed, barring some catastrophic, really bad injury. But it's not the slam dunk I thought it was. I certainly I can certainly see how like Denver could beat them, and some of these other teams could do really well. The thing I continue to hang my hopes on the East is dog shit. So just them
it's bad.
them being like, they don't have to be like generationally good to get a 1 seed and go to the finals this year. So
I mean, look, they still have the best top 6 in the NBA. Derek White was out for this game, as we discussed, because he was selfishly having a child for some reason.
Gross.
But I do just want to talk a little bit about my Wolves, because
take your victory lap.
My Wolves, ever since DeJounte Murray's Mickey Mouse game, by the way, Michael Mouse himself, DeJounte Murray, goes off. They lose that game.
You could have just stuck to the Nuggets and the Celtics wins, but you had to go there.
No, Mickey Mouse shooting from DeJounte Murray, that was completely bullshit. The Timberwolves blow that game to the Hawks because Murray goes off.
The Hawks are better. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Who has the better record? I'm just saying. Who has the better record?
In the Mickey Mouse West. They've had easy schedule. They've had an easy schedule with the Celtics.
Who did the Hawks lose to last night? Was it the Oklahoma City Thunder? Okay, just checking.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying, who have the Wolves beat besides the Nuggets and Celtics?
Besides the 2 championship front-runners? Come on.
But lots of teams lose to the Nuggets and Celtics lose to a lot of teams. I'm sure they have other bad losses.
Yeah, horrible losses on the season so far. So the Timberwolves, ever since my guy McDaniels came back, he struggled in yesterday's game in the first half. Defensively, he was amazing, just like he always is, but offensively he struggled. The Celtics were daring him to shoot, and he kept shooting, and he was unconscious in the fourth quarter and overtime. Since he's come back, I feel like they've looked like a different team. They handled the Nuggets, they destroyed the Jazz, and then they narrowly beat the Celtics. And honestly, if it weren't for Karl Anthony Towns, they probably run away in that game because he was having an absolutely terrible game. So I'm just saying, my Wolves still looking like a top 3 or 4 team in the West. I never backed off. I never backed down, even though Will came at me with the calculator rat stats. I like this team a lot. And I think that they have, the fact is, when Anthony Edwards has games like last night, I think they can beat anyone in the NBA. And Rudy Gobert, all things considered, is like pretty much close to the level that he was at in terms of rim protection. Like, he's looked awesome to start the year. And then on top of that, he has 2 perimeter defenders that you could throw on any team that has big wings, and Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. So I just really like what I'm seeing. By the way, I talked about it a little bit earlier. You know how everyone has like the assist to turnover ratio? And I was like, okay, so Maxey's like 6.3 to 1 assist to turnover. And then it was like DeLon Wright was like 7 to 1, whatever. Mike Conley has a 23 to 1 assist to turnover ratio to start the year. So at times he can look a little washed, but he's still a good player. I like what my Wolves are doing. And watch out, baby.
I'm going to ask you, do you know where the Wolves rank in defense?
It's got to be top 5, right?
It is number 1.
Wow, number 1.
Number 1 defense. That was the point Zach Lowe made. I don't know if that was defensive efficiency or just the Mickey Mouse points per game one or whatever, but that was something that I heard on Low Post today, and I thought that was really interesting because it makes sense. They've got a great defender at all 3 levels. They've got Gobert around the room. They've got McDaniels for a 6'10" wing defender, and then they've got Edwards, who, by the way, I thought actually fucked up the Celtics almost as bad on defense last night as he did on offense, which I thought was like really impressed me. That was like a very Shaq. I owe you an apology. I was unfamiliar with your game. Well, I'm used to like really good guards like being bad on defense, but he's so fucking strong.
Yeah.
And like he can blow up those plays when you're like getting in around the rim or like dribble handoffs or some of these other things. He's really good. He's really good, man. Like I was really impressed by him. So I think I don't know. I thought the Wolves were very good. I wonder how that. I'm gonna kind of wait to see what happens with them the rest of the year, because the other thing the Wolves do is they lose to teams that they are better than, so they are going to be the ultimate. They're just giant killers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they get up for every big game and then we'll fucking blow a Spurs game or something like that.
Sure.
That's going to be their destiny for the year.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case as well. But I do just want to point out that Nate, who's a Wolves fan who follows the podcast, has been basically begging in the Discord and in the comments here for the Karl Anthony Towns for Emmanuel Quickly and salary trade. And once that goes through, the Wolves will be winning the West, according to him. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it.
He knows ball. Did we not talk about that before? Because the rumor was Cat to the Knicks.
Yeah.
And like that trade package, like by necessity, would probably be like Quickly and
Fournier's contract.
Yeah, maybe one of Barrett or Randall. Probably Randall. Just to make
probably Randall now because they want to get off that contract.
Well, a change of scenery, Randall, you might get an all-NBA player out of it. So it'd be very...
Can you offset every other year Randall by trading him to another place? It will be the real test.
That would be the ultimate test of Ant's star power. Can he get Randall passing to him? I think he can do it. I'm a huge Ant believer. Like, he really is like...
He's revived Rudy Gobert. He can do anything, folks.
Yes.
So let's get into the last part of the podcast that we're going to talk about, which is ESPN's 25 under 25 list. And I wanted to leave us a big space to talk about this because there is a lot to talk about on this list.
I want to. Somebody said this earlier in the podcast that I didn't know this was what we were going to talk about. Trill said it to me, but I forgot. I did not read a fucking word of it.
He said minus 200 odds that Sam has read this at all. It's great. We'll get to see your reactions to it live on the podcast. I don't want you to read it. I want to read it off to you because last time what happened was you hadn't seen it and you were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was reading it while you were going through the other players and I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Yep.
All right. So number 25 on the list.
Okay.
Is one Alperen Şengün of the Houston Rockets.
What the fuck? What? There's 0%. How are they defining young? First of all,
25 and under.
No, there's no way. He's got to be top 10, like that, or maybe top 15. Like, I'm just thinking through it off the top of my head.
Sure.
There's no way he's still low enough to be top 25. He's been amazing this year.
He's way too low. Now look,
did they do this in the off season or something?
No, it was literally done today. It was Bobby Marks, him, Bontemps, and some other people.
God, I want to see Bontemps'. I would love to be in the room when Bontemps is making these lists. Like,
dude, the Killian Hayes comment. When Bontemps goes on Killian Hayes, it's like it's very much like when there's like a rapper producer collab that like you're like, oh man, if these two could just get together again and like. For years, we've wanted to hear Kendrick Lamar over a Dr. Dre beat again or whatever it is. Like, fucking, it is Pusha T over Kanye.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Fucking any sort of that collaboration. Tim Bontemps talking about Killian Hayes. He said he should punt him. He said Monty Williams should punt him to the moon.
Amazing. Bontemps rules, dude. That's why he's him, Bontemps, because I know he's telling me the truth.
Yes,
like, I can trust him because I know he has zero filter. Tim will tell me exactly how it is, completely unvarnished, exactly his opinion and how he sees it, and that's why he's the only ethical NBA journalist. God bless Tim Bontemps.
He's amazing, so great, dude. Yeah, he's like, and he stinks, and he's not an NBA player, and he shouldn't be in the room. And he's right. He's right. Sasser should be ahead of him. When Burks is healthy, he should be ahead of him. Ivy should be ahead of him. I know Killian Hayes every once in a while has a great shooting game, and he looks amazing, but come on. He's so good, dude.
I read Herb's comment in the fucking... Let me read this. Alperen Şengün, Rockets after Silasism. If you've ever driven anywhere and you've seen the Shen Yun billboards, this is a good. It's a good bit.
Incredibly good bit. Very good. We appreciate it. So yeah,
25,
25.
but way too low. Insanely
Way
too
too
low.
low. Way too low. There's no way Şengün should be this low. We discussed it on the Patreon episode last week. He's one of the only centers at 21 years old to average 6 assists a game. Like basically the only one, really. Like, and if that's the case, plus he's like an efficient scorer. Of course there are defensive issues, but most of these guys aren't going to be the best player on a championship team.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's like, that's why I asked if this was last year, because this is probably where I would have put him like last year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When he was like a lot less promising, but he's like been amazing out of the gate and like on a real team. Like the second infrastructure got added, he's like really fucking popping. So I don't know. I think that's.
Add Tari back into the mix, and I think that they're going to be cooking because those two, even on that shitty Rockets team last year before they had real players, they were like a +6 per 100. I think when Şengün and Tari were on the court together, so I'd be very interested to see that duo at the 4-5. Okay, so number 24 is Keegan Murray. That's fine.
That's fine. That's probably about right.
He started the year poorly, but he was really good as a rookie. Yeah. He's a big wing movement shooter who can hang on defense, handle the ball a little bit. That's pretty much right about where I think I would put him.
He's like an average NBA starter to me, which is a compliment. Like
very good at 22. That's very good. Yeah,
that's pretty good. So like I think that's, you think about 30 teams with like their young players, that's like pretty good. Yeah. But he should not be over Şengün.
No. I would definitely not have him over Şengün.
Yeah.
Number 23. This is the first surprise in the opposite direction for me. And I know it might break your heart for me to say this, but I don't think Scoot Henderson should be on this list based on what we've seen so far.
Not yet. I mean,
not yet.
What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Are you projecting? Because like objective,
he's played 5 games and he's been absolutely terrible.
But if you're doing
the NBA.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna do results based, it's like him and Killian have been the 2 worst players in the NBA, like by like VORP. So like, it is. I don't have a huge problem with that.
I love Scoot. I just think you got to do something on the NBA court for me to put you in the top 25. And he's done, if anything, he's hurt himself so far.
Yeah. I will say I would definitely have the 2 guys previously mentioned ahead of him. So
yes.
So there's a start. So
and I would probably have him off the list entirely. So I would just based on what we know now, you need to have at least one good game in the NBA. That's a pretty low bar, I feel like. Is one good game in the NBA?
Also, fair play. We were extremely fucking rude to Cade for this, and he wasn't good, by the way. I just looked up. Do you know who the bottom 5 players in VORP right now in the entire NBA are?
Scoot's definitely the worst.
He's not the worst. He's second worst.
There's someone else who's worse than him?
Yes, and it's not Killian Hayes.
Are they on the Pistons?
They're not on the Pistons. They are on the Golden State Warriors.
Is it Podziemski?
No. It's Andrew Wiggins.
Dude, Wiggins has been terrible this year.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like, he just doesn't look nearly... Like, he just looks terrible. Like, did he just have a Mickey Mouse run? Is he just a one-and-done type guy?
He might have, he might be over. By the way, so this is the rest of the bottom 6. There are 2 other guys, there's 3 other guys who are 22, and then Jordan Clarkson is the other bad guy. Do you want to guess any of the 22-year-old guys who are worst players in the NBA? 3 of the 6.
Cade.
That's one.
Yeah, Cade. And I don't know who the
2 guys have the same last name. These 2 young guys.
Williams?
Yes.
Jalen Williams?
No, it is Patrick Williams.
Oh boy.
And Zaire Williams.
Yeah, they both have started like shit. They haven't been good in their careers. I'm willing to give guys that have slow starts always the benefit of the doubt. But if you've always been kind of mid and underwhelming, I can understand why fan bases start to panic. Like Zaire Williams, it's year 3. Patrick Williams, it's year 4. Like, you would hope that these guys would have some sort of progress in their game.
I'll admit I've been kind of impressed with Cade when I have watched him. I'm like, okay, he's like figuring it out. It's alarming to me that I had that thought and he's still one of the worst players in the
Well,
NBA.
let's just wait until you see where he's on this list because I think your head might explode.
Oh man,
So
okay.
let's go.
All right.
Let's to be fair to Trill and Sam, both have more win shares than Cade Cunningham has in his career to start.
Let's go.
That's right.
I've always said that. I've always said I'm
zero for both of us. Okay, so
perfectly league average for me.
Number 22, Tyler Hero.
It's fine.
I'm fine with having Tyler.
Yeah, he honestly, you might be able to put him higher just based on what other guys have done in the league. He's actually had a pretty impressive career to this point. I think he's dog shit and not a winning player. But just in terms of like what he. Just
you casually just were like, yeah, he fucking sucks.
Sucks. I fucking despise him. And I don't think he helps winning basketball, but he has had really impressive stats. And is, I doubt there's going to be many more guys who are going to have better stats than him ahead of him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's still one of the 15 best shooters in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's a really good shooter
and
like a competent ball handler, not the worst defender in the league. Like he's perfectly fine.
No, he's fine.
Perfectly fine to be here for me. Number 21, a guy that we talked about on the Patreon episode a lot, Jalen Duren.
Too low.
I'd have him higher too. Yeah.
I mean,
he's
too low.
By the way, we kept calling him 20 on the last episode. He's 19 still.
Yeah.
Duren turns 20 in, I think he's still, hold on. Let me double check this. Yeah, he doesn't turn 20 for another week.
Let's go. Jalen Duren, year 18 season. Yeah, he's amazing. The Pistons franchise player, baby. He will be incredible at some point. I would be higher.
Really good. We talked about him as like a potential top 5 center in the East this year, and he's 19. If
you're putting Scoot this high, I would argue you should probably have Jalen Duren like in the top 10 somehow. Just in terms of projections and how the career trajectory arc is looking. Because he looks like he's going to be a fucking star, man. Like, he might not be good this year, like amazing this year, but he looks like he's going to be a fucking star, like by the time he's like 24, 25.
Yeah.
So,
yep. Yeah, Jalen Duren should be higher, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For example, I think he should be higher than this player. Number 20, Walker Kessler. Like, Kessler's good. He's fine. I know he's struggled a little bit, but like he was a 21-year-old rookie, had a very good rookie year, analytically like popped off the charts.
I put him in the Keegan Murray zone. You know what I'm saying? He's probably a little better than Keegan Murray, but I would put like Şengün. I'd honestly even probably put Hero. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe even put Hero above him. But he's like he's like a fine player. You know what I'm saying? He's an NBA starter. What else do you want me to say?
There's no GM in the league that isn't taking Jalen Duren over Walker Kessler.
Yes, agreed. 100%.
And as Will is screaming in the comments, he loves to call him Caucasian Mitchell Robinson because Mitchell Robinson famously had insane analytics his rookie season and then was like, he's fine. He's a nice player. But yeah.
He's been pretty good this year. He kind of fucking blew up the Clippers last night.
Mitchell Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mitchell Robinson's a good NBA player. He's just not like, I have 25 players I need to rank for the future outcomes. I don't know. Walker Kessler would be lower on this list to me. He would be fringe top 25.
I've always been a huge Mitchell Robinson guy. I've always said
You've always pushed back against me when I've been a skeptic.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's always
just want to reestablish for the sake of the pod and the history that's how this goes. I'm not gaslighting you, audience. You sound crazy right now.
The receipts are out there, folks. Sam, number 1 Mitch Rob guy.
Yeah, I'm the Mitchell Robinson guy. What? I never said he was bad. You sound crazy right now. Are you okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 19, Jalen Green.
A little high, I think, but
definitely a little high.
I think it's.
I mean, what is Jalen Green? What does he do? I'm sorry. What does what does he do? Like, yes, I understand that he has been better at certain elements of his game, None of it feels meaningful to me. He doesn't do anything at an above elite level except for be an athlete, like above an average level.
Let me put it this way. I'm done with Jalen Green in Houston. I would like to see Jalen Green go somewhere else.
But it's all I always get worried with the young guys when we're always making excuses.
Yes.
Because like you're in year 3, and I understand that it was a terrible situation, but what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Piss's comment. Jalen Green isn't even a top 5 Jalen under 25.
Come on.
I'm going through it. It's close. Like, anyway.
So we'll see. Maybe Jalen can contribute to winning basketball with improved defense and passing and whatever. But like, he's still got to show it to me. Can I see it? Can I see Jalen Green do anything?
That's a fine take to have. Yeah. I still can't quit the one summer league game I saw Jalen Green his sophomore year where I was like, he looks amazing. He's ready to make the leap.
It's a common theme with the Rockets players.
I do feel like in a competent organization, like a team like utilizing him, he's going to be a 6-man. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not going to be a star in this league. There's no way. But
if he's a 6-man, he shouldn't be on this list then.
What's Tyler Hero? Yeah, like I'm just saying that's the kind of guy I see like him. You know what I'm saying? Like not Tyler Hero's a better shooter than I think Jalen Green.
But that's the thing is that I can at least cling on to Tyler Hero shooting. Like there's nothing that Jalen Green does at an above average level in the NBA except for be an athlete, and that hasn't really translated to his game all that much. Like yes, he'll occasionally have games like last night where he's going up against Sacramento's defense. And he scores 23 points on 5 of 9 from the field somehow. But the majority of the games that I watched Jalen Green, I always come away being like, I felt like he either had no impact on the game or negative impact on the game. And like, it's year 3. And this is where it's like, this is where guys make the leap. This is where you separate yourself from you're either just another guy or you're a future star. And I don't think that he should be in the future star category. He has done nothing to prove that he can do that.
Can I just say, though, flirting, Kate Cunningham, a lot of high volume on bad shooting for a team that's improved this year. Jalen Green, harassment,
have I said that about Kate Cunningham?
No, but I'm just saying.
Other
people have, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, there's reason to. I'm not selling on Jalen Green quite yet. I'm getting there. I'm alarmed, but I just
need to see something. I need to see something that is meaningful and tangible. And there has barely been any of that so far in his career. Yeah, it's not to say that it's impossible, but based on the information that I have now, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jalen Green was 19. Josh Giddey, 18.
Stinks. Get him out of here. I've watched one Thunder game all year, and I've decided Josh Giddey's bad, and they need to trade him before the rest of the league figures it out.
The one thing I will say about Josh Giddey is that he had a nice FIBA run, which sometimes translates. So far in year 3, he's had. I can't say I've watched the Thunder a ton. I would be lying to you if I said that I watched them. I can't really judge him based on that. I can only judge what I thought about him before, which was that I felt like he was always a little bit overrated, but I could see the flashes. I could see the upside if the shot comes around, if he's able to be a more creative ball handler that gets to the line more and is a more effective driver that he's shown at times. But to me, Giddey's still more theoretical than actual too. Like a lot of these guys, you have to stretch your imagination to see what they can be.
Yeah, like I always say the 6th man of the year is a dog shit award because it's like it's basically who's the best player who doesn't help you win. Essentially, is like what the award is, and I think that's going to be Josh Giddey because what Josh Giddey does won't help a winning team, and he's not going to be good enough to like make that impact. And he's not going to be a fit on this Thunder team. He's going to have to go to another team. I don't know. I watched that Thunder game, and I came away thinking Lou Dort was more important to their
God,
winning than Josh Giddey was. So
this is Piss's last two comments. Josh Giddey is built for teams don't actually need a point guard argument that I always make, which is that when you get further into the playoffs, why do you need a table setting point guard? Because your best players are just going to have the ball anyway. Right. So like, and his other comment was, wow, this guy can't shoot or get to the line, but he does keep the ball out of our best players' hands, which is a good thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. He needs him, Josh Giddey, and Jalen Green absolutely need to show more in year 3 for me to be in on them as any potential star guys. I don't think that they've shown nearly enough. Now, Giddey and Green both have very different skill sets, but it's the same kind of idea to me. Like, year 3, it's got to be more than flashes. It's got to be consistency.
He would need to like absolutely like transform his game. Like, by the way, he like does have like the physical tools and like some capabilities to like be a good player, but I just think
he's tall.
He's tall and he can pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
He's tall and he can pass. You know what I'm saying? But like he would need to do so many things to make himself a winning player. And if I were Sam Presti, he would be the one I'd be dangling for like a star before everybody else figures it out. So,
well, because I've talked a lot about this idea of what Oklahoma City is trying to build. Yeah. And one of the things that it feels like everyone can do in this mold on that team is dribble, shoot, and pass.
Yeah.
And Giddey can dribble and pass, but he can't shoot. And like the shooting always caps your ceiling. And the only way I can squint and see something different with a guy like Giddey is if Chet is just like an elite stretch 5, what it looks like it could possibly be if he can actually play the 5 consistently. And maybe that helps guys that aren't pure shooters. Like, for example, Kyle Anderson can play more in Minnesota because they have some stretch bigs. That kind of guy, like, maybe. But this is like we're describing a role player. We're not describing, like, for Josh Giddey to become a star, he basically needs to be a very elite shooter. And he's not that. And so far in his career, look, he showed some improvements last year. We'll see what he does this year, but I'm still a bit of a Giddey skeptic myself. So, number 17, the other Oklahoma City player, Jalen Williams.
Sorry. Well, that's way too low. First of all, that's the Jalen Williams, not bad Jalen Williams.
Yeah. They don't have big Jalen Williams on here.
I feel like that's too low for him. Like, he's like a real NBA starter right now and has a lot of fucking upside.
Yeah, I think the one thing that he gets dinged for is that he was an older rookie, but like he was still really good at like 21.
Yeah.
And like he can kind of do everything that you want your wing to do in the modern NBA. Like, I'm kind of with you. I think that I would have wing Jalen Williams higher.
Like, not a ton higher, but I think probably higher. You know what I'm saying? I think he's one of the better guys of the guys that we've mentioned. Like,
I mean, the thing with wing Jalen Williams and a few other guys that we'll talk about is there's production and then there's conceptual. And wing Jalen Williams, you don't have to be conceptual anymore. We know he's good. And he probably will get better based on the majority of players throughout NBA history, despite the fact that he came in a little bit older as a rookie. So, and Jonathan commented that Josh Giddey will be working at Ball by 2027. Mo Bamba working at the Ringer, Josh Giddey working at Ball. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have our supervisor Bud Christmas can telling Giddey, hey Giddey, you gotta stay late tonight.
Sorry, Bud.
Sorry.
You gotta break down this Cooper flag tape for us.
Yeah. Sorry. Also, you need to go help Sam got himself stuck in the tree again. The cats have him treed again.
That's Giddey's job.
Yeah, he's got to chase the cats away so I can get down from the tree because they frighten me.
But last thing on Josh Giddey and Jalen Green, they very much have star skill sets in different ways that have not lived up to that at all, and it's hard to fit them on good teams, which is why it's always been hard for guys like those two for me to see the projection.
Yeah,
but they I just need to see more. I don't see it with either of those guys as stars.
Yeah.
Jalen Williams, I think 17 feels about right. I might have him a little bit higher, but once again, some of the guys as we get higher are like, oh, that guy's still only 24 or that guy's still only 23 and you forget, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So there are a few guys at the top of the list. We'll be like, yeah, those are no brainers.
Okay.
Okay. So number 16, Franz Wagner.
Okay. Maybe just we've gotten to a good part of this list because like my instinct is that Franz should be higher too, but I guess I just don't know what the
Franz
are. Yeah.
Franz has had a bad start to the year, but we have a large sample of him being good, and he is just been one of the best players from his draft class. He's still very young, and I would imagine will get better over the next few years. Kind of a jack of all trades wing. Jalen Williams and him kind of fall into the same bucket as players in that regard. That's
what I was going to say. They're actually kind of similar. I think Franz has a little bit more creation, but I think, they're similar enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a fair comp. Yeah.
So, I'd probably have Franz a little higher on this list. Number 15, Scotty Barnes, who we just talked about on the Patreon episode last week.
I'd have him below Franz, but maybe ahead of Jalen Williams, maybe. So
Scotty's I guess been really good to start the year.
I was so out on Scotty. I've been kind of impressed by like what he's been doing, but he might be like the hyper version of the Josh Giddey thing, where it's like, how good can you really be with Scotty as your best player? You know what I'm saying? Like we might just not have figured it out yet, but
he actually also has some defensive utility, and if he and he has had at least a stretch here, at least a 6 or 7 game sample where he showed he could shoot. Which I don't want to overreact to, but like if he's an above average 3-point shooter, that changes everything for my perception of Scotty Barnes.
And also like if you gave Scotty there's another thing to unlock here where like the Raptors have been a spacing tire fire for like pretty much the entire time he's been in the NBA. So like I would be like very interested to see what Scotty Barnes looks like on like a normal team too. So I'm willing to. I think that's a fine place for Scotty Barnes, based on the other guys around him. I think those guys are all pretty comparable to me.
Yeah, I'm willing to reassess Scotty Barnes when we see a larger sample of him shooting, but 15 or higher is fine with me, to be completely honest, for where we're at right now.
I think that's a good median because I still am very alarmed by the Ben Simmonsing that came out last year, but he probably has a higher upside than some of these other guys we're talking about. So it's just in terms of like the shooting and stuff. So,
okay. So this one is another one that I was like, the next two really, I was like, this is way too low for me. Number 14 is Paolo Banchero. It was like way higher for me. Way higher.
Tell me the next one. Cause that's not my instinct. That like maybe a little higher. Like I would probably put Paolo like 10 or something, depending on who the other guys are.
I'm looking at this list and I would have Paolo top 5 or 7.
That's pretty good. He's pretty. Do you? I don't know. Paulo's great. I want to see Paolo in games that matter a little bit more. And I kind of want to see what he looks like. He's the big wing, the spacing thing. I don't. And if Paolo's not your number one, what's his utility?
Okay, so Paolo to start the year is averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists at 47-31 splits to start the year, 1.6 steals, and he is still 20 years old. He turns 21 in a week. I just don't think that there are many guys that have his skill set. I think that there are very few guys that can be the number one of your offense, have a handle like a point guard, are 6'10", can drive, finish, shoot, pass. I feel like ball don't stop right now, but give him better spacing because Fultz has cannibalized their spacing. Suggs has cannibalized their spacing. Get that team healthy. Get them a real shooter in there. And if Anthony Black shooting's real, or Gary Harris or whoever they could trade for a Buddy Hield or an Anthony Simons or someone like that, I think that Paolo's stock is only going to go up. I'm saying he's in my top 5 or 7 if I'm redoing this list, and I'll have a full list on the Patreon episode next week. But yeah, I think he should be way higher. Paolo is doing things at age 20 that we really have not seen from a lot of guys, and he looks like a superstar. And he has for the second straight season looked like a superstar to start the season. And he's incredibly young with an incredibly difficult job, and he's better than a lot of players that are ahead of him already.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tatum's probably the comp for him, so I guess I'm being a little dismissive of Paolo. You know what I'm saying? Like just in terms of like how I remember. I just like there's something about Paolo when I watch him. Like I see the stuff, I see everything going on. I just something about me wants to just hold off until I see like the next iteration of the Magic. I want to see what Paolo looks like on a good team, because I'm not totally convinced Paolo's like a like number one guy. And I think that
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
He has a 59% free throw rate. He had a 48% free throw rate last year. Those are only superstars get to the line that much. And Cam Thomas, who isn't on this list, by the way.
That's the one that's fucked up
here. The two that I was surprised were left off just because. Oh no, I guess Austin Reeves is already 25. I was gonna say I thought Austin Reeves would be included, but he's already 25. Cam Thomas was not included.
It's fine. I don't know. There's something going on there. I'm just telling you, by like the void is speaking to me. You know how I'm a witch. I'm an eldritch god who has some sort of. I want to feel this out. I'm not saying you're wrong. There's something there that's holding me back from jumping in both feet on the Paolo thing. So
the one thing you could argue about Paolo is that he isn't quite a good enough shooter to be the number one guy on a team. Mm-hmm. But I'd also argue that like the Tatum, Giannis kind of mold of player, if they get to the line a ton and they have rim pressure and they have incredible handle for their size. Yeah. I mean, I think that Paolo is, I remember on draft night, I was arguing with someone who said, they said that Paolo had too much Tobias Harris in his game. And I was like, yeah, but if Tobias had an elite handle and was a good passer and playmaker, he would be an all NBA player. So that's that. I think that I just think that people are sleeping on, like, I would have him way higher on this list.
I'm not out on Paolo by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not like going to make him one of my guys. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm wrong about it, there's something holding me back on Paolo. So I'm all right with looking stupid when he has his like Tatum leap next year or whatever that comes. So,
I mean, he could have that leap in 3 years from now because he's so young. That's the thing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Number 13 is another guy that I was very high on coming out of the draft that I think is about right, but I might have him a little bit higher just based on what he's done so far. And that's Chet Holmgren.
Huh. I really like Chet.
Chet's been amazing to start.
I really like Chet, and I was so out on him. I was like being a Chet hater. I was like, he's not going to do anything. He's not built for the NBA. I was Jabari Smith guy in that draft. Like,
I had Paolo and Chet number 1 and 2. By the way, don't ask me if I had Jaden Ivey 3.
Yeah, I'm fucking owned, man. Like he's that guy. He's really good. Yep. Like. We talked about it before, but if like Wemby weren't in this like rookie class, like I think Chet would be like all anyone was talking about. So
yeah, no, totally agree. Really competent player on offense already. Great shooter, ball handler, incredibly efficient, insane defender already at his age. You talked about him kind of owning Evan Mobley in his first game they ever played against each other.
Yeah, I was kind of alarmed by how like. He made Mobley look like Daniel Gafford, man. Like it was tough out there. Like it was, and he just keeps doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like to guys, like his length is like a real fucking problem. You know, like it's, I don't know. I guess really tall, really long, skinny guys actually do have a utility. I have to get over my old man bias. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say the freaks just dropped. Chet Holmgren and fucking Victor Wembanyama. Freaks are in the house.
And now I'm watching Porzingis every night. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so it turns out these injury prone, mega sized freak long guys are actually like really good. So I've got to turn my head around that. So
Yeah, Chet's been really good to start, but I feel like this range is fine for him right now. But if we see this over the course of a year and he's available, like someone points out in the comments, then I think we're going to have to readjust kind of what his ceiling might be, because he's really good already and he's a rookie. I mean, he is an older rookie. He's like 21, but still.
I'd take him over everyone we just mentioned, including Paolo right now. So,
okay. I think I'd take Paolo. I'd take Paolo over him, but I think everyone we've mentioned so far, I'd definitely take Chet over. And there are a few guys that we might mention coming up that I would take Chet. I would take Chet and Paolo over them.
Yep.
So, number 12, Evan Mobley.
No, I'm sorry. I like Mobley. I was really impressed by the start of this year. Like, Mobley might, like, I don't know, like, is Evan Mobley good? Turn the TikTok camera on. Is Evan Mobley good? Like, I don't. I was pretty alarmed.
Evan Mobley is good. Yeah. He's not as good as I thought he would be by year 3.
That's what I was.
That's where I want to put it. He's good. He is a very good NBA player. When I saw him as a rookie and I saw him defending and playing the way that he did as a rookie and even the second year guy, I was like, wow, this guy is incredible. Very high floor. Very high floor because of the defense and because of the versatility and all that stuff. He's having a tough since the playoffs, I would say, in terms of potentially being exposed as a not efficient offensive player, a kind of well-rounded jack of all trades, but master of none on offense. Can't shoot, which is fine. If you put him at the 5, you just got to kind of remove him from that context. But then, I don't know. I'm not out on Mobley by any means. I think Mobley's still really good, but I think this range is about right for him, and I could see him in a year from now being lower on this list because of the more data we acquire. Let's say the more you watch him, the more you're just like, man, I really thought he would be better by now.
I'm a little alarmed. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm rapidly changing what my projections were for Evan Mobley, and I think if he played without Jared Allen, I think he would be better. Like, I think that, like, but then again, I watched him play without Jared Allen in that game, and it was still, he was okay, but like, I was like, that's an NBA starter, which is not what I thought about making KG fucking comparisons when I got a little over my skis last year. So I
was going to say, I was expecting Mobley to be, look, he's still 22. He's still got time to figure this shit out. But I was expecting him to be a no-brainer All-NBA guy in year 3 or 4. And I haven't seen that yet. But I still think this is a fair placement based on what he's done so far in the NBA. So, all right, let's get on to the next one, which is number 11. And dear to my heart, Tyrese Maxey. By the way, I just want to say here before we talk about Maxey, thank you for fucking catching up to what we've been saying for fucking 2 years, okay? He was the 21st pick in the draft, so we got overlooked. For years, I've been saying he deserves to be higher on these lists. He's always in like the 20s, and now he's up at 11. And honestly, that feels about right to me. And we'll see if what he's done so far against these kind of piss poor defenses is sustainable. But if he does this for a whole year, you're making the argument that we're going to be sitting here from now making an argument he's top 10 next year. I think, like, we talked about it. He's done anything that the Sixers want him to do. He doesn't turn the ball over. He gets to the line now. He's got elite touch. He's a good enough passer. His defense has been way better this year. He's just really good. He's an elite number 2 option for a good team.
So I'm gonna put my arms up and let the trash rain down on me, because I'll do the cold water thing. I want to see it for like more than 6 games. I think he's good. I think he's really good. He's definitely making a leap. Before I put him above like Chet and Paolo, like just in terms of like long
Chet
range.
Paolo should be higher.
Yes, I guess that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I guess that's just what I'm saying. Like Chet and Paolo, like if they put him above like Chet and Paolo, which is silly to me, but like he's very good. he could be an all-star this year. I think he probably will be an all-star this year. So,
yeah, I think so.
you know, like I think that he's probably ultimately in the right place on this list because I'm getting a little alarmed at some of the names that you haven't said who should not be this high.
As high, yeah.
Yeah. I think Maxey is definitely one of the most fully formed. He's definitely of the guys we mentioned, he's definitely good right now, right? Like for sure.
Yes.
Like he's definitely the best player right now in this moment. So I just, you know, I do think that and I think he could be like an all-star type guy, but I just don't know if he has like all NBA upside and like some of these other, you know, things later on.
That's fair. You're wrong,
I want
but
to see a
that's
little
fair.
more from Ron. Okay.
Yeah. Check the numbers, bitch. So I'm glad that we have the checks and balances here on this.
Yeah, podcast. Exactly. It's like this is crossfire.
This is the no spin zone, baby.
Yes.
So we have number 10.
Is Tyrese Maxey? Look, you talking to your families, and they go out and they want to see Tyrese Maxey. They want to see Tyrese Maxey play, but you know, like what is Tyrese Maxey? Is he something the liberal media cooked up? Like what are we really talking about when we're talking about offensive efficiency? Because last time I checked, Tyler Hero was a pretty good player, but he doesn't fit into the Philadelphia liberal media.
I was going to say you got to start defending Franz Wagner and Chet Holmgren as well. Their placement on this list. You're doing Tucker Carlson.
Do you know Jonathan Isaac comes off the bench? Jonathan Isaac is someone who believes in Jesus pretty strongly, and yet the woke NBA has him coming off of the bench. What is going on? This isn't my NBA.
It's disgusting.
Who voted for this? It's not me. Maybe it's you.
Not me.
Maybe it's your family.
Maybe it's the Tyrese Maxey liberal media.
I miss him. Bring him back, Fox. Bring him back.
Number 10.
Yep.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
Do I? I know he's defensive player of the year, and like I can see myself getting shit for this, but like he can't fucking rebound, man. That's a pretty big fucking problem for a power forward / center. Like,
I mean, look, offensively, you would like more out of him. He's shown a little bit in this last few games but they're also playing against Portland. Defensively, it doesn't get much better than Jaren Jackson Jr. Rebounding is definitely an issue. I think this is about right for him, but I'd also have the three guys behind him that I'd have above him, if we're projecting forward, are Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, and I'll think of a little bit more about it. I might have Maxey over him. We'll see.
I definitely have Maxey over him. This is so bizarre. Wait, why would you not have Maxey over him?
I don't know. They're close to me. They're similar tier players, I think. I think that if offensively, Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably never going to be better than the third best offensive player on a team, but he's also going to be the number one defender on any given team, even with some of the issues with the rebounding.
I just don't think he like raises the floor in like the same way that like honestly we've seen fucking Chet do already in the way that we've seen. Honestly, I give him shit, but like Gobert has this kind of defensive impact. I just don't think he has that real like defensive impact in that way. I mean, it's definitely there, but I think it's overstated, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't know. I'm a
little thrown off by the fact that he was so good in that Warrior series 2 years ago and kind of kept Memphis in the series against a team that went on to win the title.
Well, I was going to say, and that's like a perfect team for him to play. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, they've really struggled with Lakers.
Yeah, I was going to say, you see like what happened when they like ran into the Lakers, and like I got bad news about like every team in the West. A lot of the best teams in the West have some sort of really good physical big. So,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. All right. So number 9 is LaMelo Ball, who I have defended to death in the past. And I love his game just because he's so much fun. He's a hooper. I'm saying it. Tyrese Maxey's better than LaMelo Ball. I'm
LaMelo
there.
Ball, sachet away. I am out on LaMelo Ball officially. Sadly, it's a bummer.
He just finally had his like amazing game that he had the other night against the Mavericks. They almost came back and won. He had 30, 10, and 13, but it's just been like a calendar year since I feel like I've seen more than a calendar year since I've seen LaMelo consistently be good. He's just not the player he once was. It's really strange.
He could still get back to that form, and he still has that. Like,
he's better than he's been, of course.
Yeah, he's better than he's been. He could say I'm being dramatic, but like he could definitely still be like a really good player. But I'm just he's back in the can I see it zone for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look, we've defended LaMelo. He was so good as a 19-year-old. We were like, oh, this guy's like, he had a historically good 19-year-old season. He took the Hornets and made them respectable. I don't really buy, oh, he's on the Hornets argument anymore, personally.
Yeah.
I think Charlotte has talent.
I got burned there. Like, I'm starting to side eye a little bit,
I don't think it's that bad of a situation. Gordon Hayward is good. PJ Washington is good. Mark Williams is good. Like, Brandon Miller's been really good for a rookie. Like, I just think that LaMelo being as bad as he's been since he had that injury and then he got another injury, it's just a little alarming to me. I think that if you put him in a different context, sure, he's still an elite talent, dribble, shoot, pass guy, 6'8", absolutely. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I think he might be a little bit of a Fugazi number 1, and I'm taking the guy who I know is the for sure number 2 guy in Maxey over him.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. And I love LaMelo. It breaks my heart to say this, but okay, so let's move on to number 8, who is Darius Garland. This is fine for Darius Garland.
It's fine, like, overall in the scheme of things. I think there are guys behind him that he should probably be ahead of. Again, I think I know he's made an all-star game and some of these other guys haven't, but like I think I would probably take Chet above him.
Yeah, I don't know. Darius Garland is another guy that I feel like he was terrible to start his career, like legitimately one of the worst players in the NBA, had a nice come up, made an all-star team, is a great passer, kind of an underrated defender, really good shooter.
Yeah. I like Darius Garland, but like this is like the pendulum swung too far the other way.
Yeah, it's possible.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I think he's a really good player. I don't know if, like, are you going to be shocked if Darius Garland doesn't make the All-Star team this year? Like,
no, he probably won't. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just
would you rather have Darius Garland or Tyrese Maxey?
It would obviously depend on my team composition, but like in general, I think Maxey, to be totally honest, because he's bigger and stronger. Like, isn't Garland only like 6'1" or like 6
they're both about the same size, I think. But I do think Maxey's
Maxey's stronger though. Like, Garland always looks small. And I never like look at Maxey and be like, wow, that's he doesn't belong on it. Like, he always looks smaller than like a lot of the other guys, but he always looks the same size. Yeah. So Garland is apparently 6'1".
He is small.
Yeah.
Maxey's 6'3", technically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would probably just take Maxey for the size and
long-term outcome. If we're doing these kind of guards that are in the same class from the 2019-2020 draft, for me, it's like, if I'm doing long-term, like what I think they could become, I'd probably go Maxey, LaMelo, Garland. And I'm worried about LaMelo for sure, but I like the idea of a 6'7" guy more than I like a guy that is 6'1", and like Maxey has such elite speed. Not that Garland doesn't, but like Maxey has had games in the playoffs that have shown me that he belongs more so than Garland has this far in his career.
Yes, and that I guess that's the thing. Is I think Garland has, I think he has a higher floor than LaMelo, certainly, but he's also like, he just doesn't have that upside, really. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just going to be who he is for the rest of his career, is a really good starter who every once in a while makes an all-star game, like, so. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I think he's a really good player, like.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's very good.
I like him. Yeah.
Number 7, Zion Williamson.
There is no way we have not gotten to Cade fucking Cunningham yet. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious, man? You're going to say Zion Williamson before you say Cade Cunningham? What is the big problem with Zion? That he misses a lot of games? What the fuck did Cade do last year? Are you serious? This is insane. This is insane. I'm sorry. I sat on it for a while. You can't put Zion Williamson in. Zion Williamson is a top 5 player when he's healthy. Just is right now.
He's not top 5, but he's very good.
He's up there. He's fucking up there.
Yeah, Zion. I mean, look, ding him for all availability you want. He should not be number 7 on this list behind number 6, Cade Cunningham.
Zion, I get it. Everyone's gonna rate that a different way. Zion, the player Zion is when he's on the court is far and away a way higher caliber than every other player we've mentioned at this point. And it's not close. So
Billy Cummins said, Zion is a top 10 player when healthy, but what if there was a player that played just as much but was also bottom 10?
Yeah. Oh my God, they can't keep getting away with it. I don't want to be mean to Cade. I want to the Pistons, but why do they keep doing this? Be normal about Cade. Be normal. God damn it, dude.
It's pretty shocking. One of the funniest things that I saw was someone shared, if someone can send the exact language in the article, I found it to be very funny, but the lead-in for Cade's part was really funny to me because it just his top thing on his resume was Cade Cunningham was the number 1 pick in the 2021 draft. Cade Cunningham was the number 1 pick in a strong 21 draft full of budding superstars. First off, there are not a lot of budding superstars for the 2021 draft at all.
Who was in that draft even that I like? Is that Jalen Green? Is that's
draft? Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Franz Wagner. I would call none of these players budding superstars. Very good players. None of them are budding superstars.
Budding superstar. Yeah, Chris Duarte. budding superstar. Mitchell.
Star plate site.
Oh my God. Yeah, this draft was Şengün was in. It was Şengün the 3rd best player in this draft when it's all said and done. I don't know. If you have a crazy if you told me this 2 years ago, maybe all these guys looked really good their rookie years.
Yeah.
So maybe that was fine. But
yeah. I feel we just have some insane delusion about this draft class that it's filled with it's filled with a lot of guys who might make all-star teams.
Yes.
It is not filled with a bunch of future top 10 players. That's just not the case. There's
no Anthony Edwards in this draft. There's no Luka Doncic in this draft. There
is a Cam Thomas though, which is more important.
Thomas in this draft.
Cam Thomas not on this list. Asar Thompson, as someone pointed out, not on this list.
So it sounds like we're not getting Jalen Johnson if we've already had fucking Zion.
Oh no, Jalen Johnson's not even close. Okongwu and Jalen Johnson were not included on the list. Okongwu is more of a role player, but yeah. I mean, Jalen Johnson's shown me some things. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he's definitely shown me he's nice with it.
Hey, he's better than Jalen Green. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. So
yeah, I mean, I think I'd agree with that.
He's better than Cade Cunningham, who's apparently 6 or higher.
So it's unfortunate because it just feels I feel like I'm in the Truman Show.
Yes.
With Cade.
Yes.
Because I watch the games and I see some improvements. I think the mid-range game when he's able to create his own shot looks great. I think that he had a streak earlier this year where the 3-point shot was falling earlier this year. There's been 8 games. It's he takes 20 shots a game. He shoots 41% from the field, and he averages 23 a game. He never gets to the line. He turns the ball over more than any player in the entire NBA, and it's not – everyone keeps saying, oh, spacing. Watch the games, dude. He has some really careless turnovers. They're not because everyone's packing the paint. It's because he has a loose handle, and he's careless with the ball. He has over a 20% turnover percentage to start the year. the only guys that have that level of turnover percentage are the Luka Doncic, Russell Westbrook, heliocentric guys who have the ball every single possession, basically, and are reckless with it, but also make up for that, especially a guy like Luka, who's an elite 3-level scorer. That's also one of the 3 best playmakers in the NBA and is a legit MVP candidate level talent. Like, the improvements from Cade are less massive leaps like everyone is making them out to be, and more like he's making progress like any young player you would expect. And I just keep talking about this excuse thing over and over and over again, but it feels like there's never been a player that gets as many excuses as him. To have him 6 on this list is beyond insane to me. Like, he has to become either an elite shooter or something else that he is not to be that high on this list. There's no way he's better than Paolo Banchero for the next 5 years. There's just no way. Someone put this perfectly. Chet Holmgren has been in the NBA for 7 games, and he's already better than Cade Cunningham's ever been in the NBA. Now, is his context a little better? Sure. But also, it's year 3, and we talked about some other guys in year 3. You need to show me more. Like, this is not a charity case. Like, it's going insane. Like, I just feel like like I said, I feel like I'm in the Truman Show. I feel like what am I missing that everyone else is seeing? If he can develop the shot from 3 more, he could be a great second or third player on a team. For now, he is way overtasked as a primary creator, and I don't see that getting any better personally.
I really thought this was the year we were going to be normal about Cade, and Cade was going to be like, okay. And just like, I can't help it. I want to be normal about Cade, but all the NBA media needs to stop being insane about him. It's crazy. Like, I give it up. It's okay. Sometimes the number 1 pick in the draft, often the number 1 pick in the draft is not the best player in the draft. That is okay. He will still be a top 7 player in this draft, probably, when it's all said and done. But you've got to be normal. You have got to be normal about this. Please, I am begging you. My sanity. I can't take another. It really is like Eldritch. It's like Lovecraftian, where I just keep getting shown like somebody's head splitting apart and like the tentacles ripping out. And it's like, oh, here's a normal human. God damn it. Another Eldritch being. Fuck. I got to go back to Arkham. Fuck.
It's beyond wild.
Yeah. Was he number 6? Tell me he was number 6.
He was 6.
Okay.
Number 5. Mm-hmm. Number 5 is Ja Morant.
That's fine.
Yeah. That's fine. I mean, fine based on the production, fine based on what he showed. I hope that he can come back and be normal.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Be normal. Be normal. The theme for I don't want to talk about Ja Morant. Ja Morant bores me at this point, but he is what he is. You know, we know the deal with Ja Morant.
Number 4. We just went on this whole fucking psychotic rampage about Cade. What am I missing?
That's a great that's a great shorthand for like YKB, where like Ja Morant, like the lightning rod of the league. Everyone's gonna have an opinion, and we're like, it is what it is.
Ja's really good.
Cade is like, I will fucking kill myself if we don't stop talking about Cade. Just screaming at the top of my lungs. Like I am like over it. That's the YKB guarantee, folks. We're out on this.
Oof. All right. Number 4, Tyrese Halliburton.
High, very high.
I've been kind of saying this for like a year now, personally, but yeah.
I don't hate it. Yeah, you know what? I think it's okay. It's my first blush was that's really high for Tyrese, but
I think that's about right.
He's pretty good though. Yeah, as I'm thinking through it, like
top 10. You could make an argument that Tyrese Halliburton is a top 10 shooter and a top 10 passer in the NBA. He's the engine of the number 1 offense in the NBA. And yes, some of that is pace stuff because they run like crazy and they are the Pacers.
Yeah,
but he's really good, dude. Like
he's really good.
The defense is bad, but he's good. Like he is. I think 4 is a perfectly fine placement for him. The only guys below him, I think, that have a legit argument to be ahead of him, if we're really projecting, for me, are the guys that I would say, like, okay, I can hear you out, are Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, and Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
But because of the availability with Zion, I'm like, I think I'd rather go with Halliburton. And because of the weird shit with Ja, I'd rather go with him. And I think I would have Paolo in this range.
Yeah. And Hallie's been an engine for like a good offense before. So like it's absolutely true. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Pacers have the number 2 offense in the NBA right now, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah. So,
yeah. Well,
yeah. I think it's fine. My initial reaction is too high, but
I think this is about right.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
This is about right.
Through it. Yeah.
Okay. Number 3, Victor Wembanyama.
It's going to sound insane. I was all ready to be the Wemby Zag guy, but like,
nah, he's
him. He's him.
He's still 19, dude.
Yeah, like it's insane. It's insane how good he is.
That game the other night that Zach talked about on his podcast, I can't even remember who they were playing. Yeah. Who were they even playing? I don't even remember. The Suns? Were they playing the Suns?
I think it was the Suns, yeah.
Dude, maybe. I was like, when he hit that 3 at the top of the key and just the fucking plays that he was able to make, all like the flashes that we've seen already, like he deserves to be this high, if not higher. Like the only reason I think that the guys that are ahead of him is because they've been bulletproof all-stars already.
Yeah.
And like potential all-NBA, like, I mean, Luka's obviously higher than
that's what I was trying to figure out who 2 is, if it's not, like,
take a guess.
Luka. Is Jason Tatum? Is he
still? No, he's not on the list anymore. No, he's 25 now. Going on 26. SGA is also too old.
Oh, Duh. Sorry. Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is 2.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. That's honestly, that top 3 makes total sense to me. I think that's completely correct.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's fair too. I mean, I look, if you really want to go crazy with the projection, I think you could say Luka 1, Victor 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Anthony Edwards to death, and he's already proven it. And maybe you do have concerns that Victor will eventually get injured, but he's the best prospect since Luka coming into the league, and like is already doing alien shit in year 1, in month 2, not even a full month of his career in. And he's not going to be perfect all the time. He's going to have his issues, but when the shot's falling, there's no one that can do shit like him in the NBA. Like, he's just an absolute freak. And it was that game to watch the other night was just like, I was like, this guy's not real. This guy is not real at all. So yeah, that's totally fine. I think the end of this list is completely fine. The top 5, really, I don't have an argument with. It's just anything beyond that is, I felt like I was going a bit insane with some of these picks. So I'll make mine and have it on the Patreon episode next week. So if you want to hear, or end of the week. So if you want to hear that, subscribe to the UW Patreon. Join us for the playback streams. All that shit. We'll be doing Celtics Sixers on Wednesday. I hope that you can join. And anything else you want to say?
No. Check us out. If you are a sponsor, feel free to reach out to us, and we will, try to do our best to accommodate you.
I see Jonathan Isaac is launching his Judo 1 shoes in the comments. Do you see that?
I can't wait. I want to get in those comments because I'm sure there's going to be some ladies, some 78-year-old ladies being like, no, Jonathan
Isaac, if you're listening,
you can't name the beast. Don't name the beast. Yeah.
If you want to sponsor the podcast, Jonathan, ballpod@gmail.com. Reach out to me.
Yes. All right.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Peace.